Imagine your morning starting like this. The alarm rings, and you feel the blanket wrapped around you like a shield of safety. A thought slips in. 5 more minutes won't hurt. Somewhere else, at that exact same moment, another person hears the same sound, jumps up, sits in silence, moves their body, and tackles their hardest task before the world has even opened its eyes. What separates these two people? Not talent, not luck, not some secret advantage. It's discipline. Here's the hard truth. Modern life is designed to weaken us. Temptations and conveniences surround us everywhere. Just a few taps on a screen, and we're flooded with dopamine. A craving strikes, and food arrives at our door within the hour. Our favorite show? All the episodes available instantly. We've normalized comfort, and in doing so, we've lost our edge. But comfort never forged character, and ease never created greatness. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of one of the largest empires in history, could have indulged endlessly, yet he chose discipline. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." For him, this wasn't abstract wisdom, it was his survival kit. Leading an empire demanded mental armor, and that armor was forged in rigorous thinking and structure. The Stoics understood a truth we've mostly abandoned today. Discipline isn't about pain or deprivation. It's about liberation. The more you rule yourself, the less the world can shake you. When you command your reactions, you shape your destiny. When you guide your mind, you unlock doors most people will never see. But here's the secret no one mentions. Discipline doesn't strip you of your humanity. It doesn't turn you into cold machinery. True discipline, the kind that transforms you, comes when you deeply understand what matters most and live by it. When your purpose becomes so undeniable that distractions lose their grip, that's when discipline becomes second nature. Think back to a moment when you felt truly proud of yourself. It wasn't during a lazy afternoon. It was when you faced a challenge, followed through, and refused to give in to comfort. That spark, that quiet victory, that's the gift of discipline. And it outshines every temporary high dot. The Stoics didn't theorize from ivory towers. They faced invasions, betrayals, and grief, yet stood firm in their ethics. Epictetus, once a slave, became one of the most respected thinkers in history. He taught that no harm can touch you unless you allow it. That's not just emotional resilience, it's mastery of thought. Because once you shape your mental reactions, you shape your entire life. And that's exactly what we're about to uncover. I'll walk you through 10 ancient Stoic laws designed to rewire your mind for discipline. These aren't motivational slogans. They are time-tested principles that helped ordinary people achieve extraordinary strength for over 2 millennia. But there's something essential you must remember. Knowing means nothing without doing. You could binge hundreds of self-help videos and still stay stuck. These principles demand effort, patience, and the courage to step out of your comfort zone. Your future self depends on the choices you make today. Each moment you choose discipline over ease, you step closer to the person you're meant to be. Each time you run from growth, you abandon that better version of yourself. Law 1. The morning victory principle. Seneca once said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." And each morning is your new beginning. The way you start your day sets the tone for how you'll finish it. Most people start by scrolling through notifications, flooding their mind with noise, drama, and opinions before they've even taken a breath. That's not productivity, it's surrender disguised as being informed. For the Stoics, the early hours were sacred. Marcus Aurelius didn't begin his day with messages from distant provinces. He began by checking in with his own mind. He primed himself for the day's trials and reminded himself of what truly mattered. Your morning habits are a declaration of war against mediocrity. When you wake and immediately choose something difficult, whether physical training, silent reflection, or deep work, you're conditioning your brain to prioritize effort over ease. Psychologists call this strengthening your willpower muscle. But here's what matters most. Your routine has to hold personal meaning. Copying someone else's ritual just because it's trendy misses the point. Stoicism always emphasized personal truth and accountability. What works for a top executive might not fit a college student. What works for a single adult may not work for a busy parent. The real strength of owning your morning isn't found in a checklist. It's in honoring the promises you make to yourself. If you say you'll rise at 5 a.m. and actually do it, you prove to yourself that your word carries weight. If you promise to read for 20 minutes and follow through, you show your subconscious that you can be trusted. Think of the most disciplined people you know. Without fail, they've mastered their mornings. They understand discipline is like a muscle. It grows stronger with use and shrinks when neglected. They leverage the early hours when self-control is sharpest to build momentum. Science backs this up. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for reasoning and restraint, is at its peak in the morning. As the day unfolds, decision fatigue sets in. That's why resisting junk food is easier at 8 a.m. than at 9 p.m. when your mind is exhausted. But let's be clear, owning your morning isn't about crushing endless tasks or chasing achievements. It's about shaping your identity. When you wake early and lean into discomfort, you start to see yourself as someone who thrives in effort. When you start your day with deliberate purpose, you embody intentionality. Your actions and your identity reinforce each other, cycle after cycle. The Stoics knew this well. They taught that character is forged through repetition. Begin each morning with laziness, and you slowly become a person who defaults to laziness. Begin with willpower, and you cultivate a life rooted in strength. The good news? Your morning routine doesn't need to be complicated or last for hours. It just needs to be consistent and slightly challenging. For one person, that might mean making the bed immediately. For another, it might mean finishing a short workout or writing down 3 things you're grateful for. The action itself matters less than the intention and the follow-through behind it. And remember, don't aim for flawless execution. Aim for forward movement. Some mornings will go off track. Some days you'll stumble. But discipline doesn't mean never messing up. Discipline means you return to rhythm without tearing yourself down. The Stoics never equated setbacks with failure. They understood that mistakes are part of mastery. Law 2. Emotional responsibility rule. Epictetus, who endured slavery and hardship, expressed one of the most powerful ideas ever recorded. What matters is not what happens, but how you respond. This is the second Stoic law of discipline. You must fully own your emotional reactions. Most people live as emotional slaves. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and they stew in anger all day. A rude comment from a coworker ruins their focus. For hours, a text goes unanswered, and anxiety spirals out of control. That isn't living, that's surrender. The reactive mind believes emotions are automatic, like storms you can't avoid. I can't help being mad, or this situation is stressing me out. But the Stoics knew better. They taught that between what happens and how we react, there's always a pause, and in that pause lies our greatest power, choice. Think of the last time someone upset you. Maybe they dismissed your ideas, forgot something important, or made a cutting remark. It probably felt like your reaction was instant. But in truth, your brain judged the situation, gave it meaning, and built your emotion around that meaning. Interpretation is everything. Two people can go through the same event. One crumbles, the other grows stronger. The difference lies in the story they tell themselves. This is where discipline enters. Controlling your emotions isn't about suppressing feelings or faking calm. It's about owning the narrative you attach to experiences. Ask yourself, is this thought useful? Is this emotion helping me move forward? What would the strongest version of me choose right now? Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. As emperor, he faced betrayal, wars, and devastating losses. Yet, he trained himself to reframe meaning within the chaos. He wrote, "Very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within your thinking." For him, this wasn't theory. It was survival. Here's how you can apply this. Start noticing the space between trigger and response. When anger rises, pause and ask, what's the story I'm telling myself? When anxiety shows up, explore, what assumptions about the future am I making? This isn't about becoming numb. Emotions are valuable signals, but they are guides, not masters. You can acknowledge anger without exploding. You can feel sadness without letting it hijack your entire day. The Stoics even practiced imagining loss, not to be dark, but to strengthen perspective. They understood that clinging to what's uncontrollable only deepens pain. Release the need for specific outcomes, and nothing can shatter your inner calm. The beauty of emotional ownership is this: when you stop letting others dictate your mood, you become emotionally independent. Your happiness no longer depends on someone's tone, the economy, or perfect conditions. Your peace becomes self-made. Like any discipline, it takes practice. Begin small. The next time someone irritates you, hold your reaction. Take 3 deep breaths. Ask, what would discipline choose here? You'll be amazed at the strength you already hold. Never forget this truth. You don't always control what happens, but you always control what happens within. That isn't just philosophy. It's a skill that can reshape your reality. Law 3. Mastery of the now. Marcus Aurelius once advised, stay within the present. That simple line contains one of the most transformative truths in Stoic discipline. Mastery over the present is mastery over life itself. Most people live everywhere but the present. Their minds are either stuck replaying past regrets or fast-forwarding through imagined futures filled with fear. They scroll endlessly, comparing their behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's highlight reel. Physically, they're here, but mentally they're scattered. And that fractured attention kills discipline. A mind without focus is like a computer with 50 tabs open jumping from one distraction to another, burning energy, yet producing nothing meaningful. This isn't just inefficient, it's draining. You end the day exhausted, emotionally flat, and yet nothing truly important was accomplished. The Stoics knew the truth. Life only ever happens in one place, this moment. The past is gone and untouchable. The future is uncertain and mostly outside of our control. But right now, in this instant, lies our only real power. This is where choices are made, where actions take shape, and where meaning is created. Think back to the times you felt most alive, deep in conversation with someone who mattered, in the middle of a workout where effort absorbed you completely, or while creating something meaningful. In those moments you were fully present. Psychologists today call this flow. The Stoics had their own word, prosos, total attention to the now. They understood that when your mind is rooted in the present, clarity sharpens, emotions steady, and decisions improve. Mastering the present isn't just about efficiency, it's about peace. Anxiety only exists when the mind leaps ahead into imagined threats. Regret only exists when thoughts are trapped in a past that can't be changed. When you stay grounded in the now, both dissolve. But staying present today is hard. Our world is engineered to shatter focus notifications, headlines, viral clips, all pulling your mind in 100 directions. Tech companies literally spend billions to steal your attention. Here's the secret disciplined people understand. Attention is your most valuable resource. Where you place it determines the quality of your life. Direct it toward the present, and you unlock your greatest strength. The Stoics used practical methods for this. They asked, "What is the most important thing I can do right now?" Not tomorrow, not later now. That question slices through mental chaos and returns focus to the present. They also taught full engagement. If you're eating, truly taste it. If you're walking, feel the ground beneath you. If you're speaking, give the other person your undivided attention. This isn't vague mindfulness, it's discipline. It builds mental toughness through focus. Every time you catch your drifting thoughts and bring them back, it's like a rep in the mental gym. Every time you choose to focus on what's in front of you, instead of scrolling a screen, you're strengthening your attention muscle. And life becomes richer. Moments feel more vivid. Relationships deepen. You stop missing your own life because you're finally living it. The Stoics called this steady state ataraxia, a calm that comes from being rooted in the present. Law 4. Turning barriers into breakthroughs. Marcus Aurelius ruled during one of the most turbulent periods of Roman history. A plague ravaged his empire. Enemies attacked from every border. Betrayal and unrest shadowed his reign. And yet, in the midst of that storm, he wrote, "The obstacle to action advances action. What blocks the path becomes the path." This is the fourth Stoic law of discipline. Every difficulty is secretly an invitation to grow stronger. Most people treat obstacles as stop signs. They think struggle means something has gone wrong. They hit a setback and immediately see a reason to quit. But the Stoics held a radical view. Barriers aren't walls, they're weights. They're meant to be lifted. They're your training ground. Think of how muscle grows. It doesn't get stronger by staying comfortable. It grows by being strained, by being tested beyond what's easy. Character grows the same way. Every challenge is a test of who you are. Every hurdle is a chance to build grit. Every loss is a lesson in resilience. The reactive mind sees struggle as an attack. Why me? It complains. Why can't things just be easy? But the disciplined mind responds differently. What is this moment trying to teach me? How can this experience sharpen me? This isn't about fake positivity or pretending pain doesn't hurt. Hardship is real. Grief is real. Failure is painful. The Stoics never denied this. They simply refused to waste the pain. They turned every wound into wisdom. Epictetus put it bluntly. We don't control what life throws at us, but we absolutely control how we handle it. Don't just talk about your values, he warned, live them. And when you learn to reshape obstacles into opportunities, you stop philosophizing and start transforming. Here's how to begin. Reframe the challenge. Instead of why is this happening to me? Ask, how is this happening for me? Instead of this is terrible, try this is training. Instead of I can't handle this, declare this is preparing me for more. Something profound happens when you make this shift. Fear begins to fade. Struggle loses its sting. You stop dreading tests and start seeing them as the path forward. Law 4 continued. Amor fati, love of fate. This mindset is known as amor fati, the love of fate. You don't just grudgingly accept life's storms, you embrace them fully. Take the entrepreneur rejected by dozens of investors. Each no wasn't a death sentence, it was feedback. Every rejection sharpened their pitch, clarified their vision, and strengthened their resolve. The rejection wasn't the wall, it was the map, dot, or picture an athlete struck down by a devastating injury. They could quit or they could use the recovery process as training. They could study their sport from a new angle, build mental resilience, and return stronger than before. The injury wasn't the end. It became the forge that created their future strength. Here lies the core truth. The obstacle is not separate from your journey, it is the journey. The struggle you're facing right now is shaping the very qualities you'll need for the life you dream of. You cannot grow into your highest self without first enduring the fire that molds you into that version. This perspective changes everything. You stop running from difficulty. You welcome it as part of transformation. You stop interpreting setbacks as failure and begin to see them as preparation for your next level. The Stoics believed the universe was rational, that everything carried meaning, even if hidden from view. Whether you share that belief or not, acting as if it's true gives you tremendous power. Treat every hardship as a mentor. Become a lifelong student of adversity. Do this, and you'll discover that nothing, not rejection, not failure, not loss can truly stop you. Law 5. Choosing hardship on purpose. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, had a strange habit. He regularly lived as if he had nothing. He slept on hard floors, ate bland food, and wore coarse clothing. Not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he understood the fifth Stoic law of discipline. Self-imposed discomfort builds real strength. People arrange their lives to avoid hardship. They want perfect temperatures, delicious food, constant entertainment, and minimal effort. They build routines so soft that even minor inconveniences feel like crises. That isn't thriving, that's hiding. The Stoics knew comfort dulls us. Too much ease weakens the body, softens the mind, and enslaves the spirit. When everything is pleasant, you forget how to be powerful. When everything is smooth, you forget how to adapt. When everything feels good, you lose the ability to say, "No." The cure? Voluntary discomfort. Think about every meaningful skill you've ever learned. None came easily. Reading was once hard. Your brain had to decode strange letters into meaning. Driving was stressful. At first, your body had to master complex movements under pressure. Difficult conversations were uncomfortable. Your emotions had to be managed as you spoke your truth. Growth always comes through tension. That's the lesson. If you want to stay calm during chaos, you must rehearse discomfort. If you want to stand firm when storms arrive, you must practice in the rain. If you want to remain disciplined under pressure, you must train that discipline when the stakes are low. Seneca called this practice premeditatio malorum, the anticipation of misfortune. He imagined losing his health, his wealth, or his reputation, not as a pessimist, but as a warrior preparing for battle. By facing loss in his mind, he was ready if it ever came in reality. But Stoic discomfort wasn't just mental, it was physical. They knew body and mind are linked. Harden one, and you strengthen both. That's why they embraced cold, hunger, and physical strain. Modern science confirms it. Cold exposure boosts focus through chemicals like norepinephrine. Fasting improves brain plasticity. Physical hardship builds resilience through something called cross-stressor adaptation. When you handle one form of stress, you become better at handling others. So how can you apply this? Choose the harder path regularly. Take a cold shower instead of a warm one. Walk instead of driving. Push yourself through a tough workout. Say no to short-term pleasures. Skip a meal. Sleep on the floor once in a while. These aren't punishments, they're practice. But don't mistake this for self-abuse. Voluntary discomfort isn't suffering for suffering's sake. It's preparation for reality. You're not trying to be miserable, you're training to be unshakable. The more you face discomfort, the less it frightens you. The more you stretch your tolerance, the more power you gain. Epictetus put it best. Freedom is not getting everything you want, it's wanting less. When you stop chasing comfort, you break the addiction to ease. You stop depending on perfect conditions to be okay. That's real resilience. Psychologists today call this distress tolerance, your ability to feel pain, anxiety, frustration, or doubt without breaking. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. But you can sit with it. You can breathe through it. You can stay steady while others run. That's your edge. Begin small. Wake up a little earlier. Do 5 push-ups when your body resists. Eat one meal purely for fuel, not flavor. The specific act matters less than the principle. Choose the harder way consistently. Law 6. The mortality mirror. Marcus Aurelius kept a skull on his desk, not to be grim, but to remind himself of one undeniable truth. You could die today. Let that guide what you do, say, and think. This is the 6th Stoic law of discipline. Reflecting on death brings life into focus. Most people live as though time is infinite. They delay meaningful conversations, ignore their dreams, and waste hours on trivial distractions. They treat death as something distant, something for others, something irrelevant to their own lives. But that's not just denial, it's dangerous. The Stoics had a practice for this. Memento mori, remember death. They weren't being morbid, they were being awake. Death is the only guaranteed part of life, yet most of us live pretending it will never touch us. That illusion weakens focus and erodes discipline. Think back to the last time you were reminded of life's fragility. Maybe someone close to you passed unexpectedly. Maybe a health scare rattled you. Maybe you witnessed a sudden accident. In that moment, everything snapped into sharp focus. Petty arguments suddenly felt trivial. Dreams you had postponed felt urgent. Wasted time looked tragic. That is the power of remembering death. It burns away the noise and reveals what truly matters. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't need a crisis to reach this clarity. Death reflection is a tool you can use daily. It sharpens focus, strips away nonsense, and makes you fiercely intentional with your hours. Steve Jobs, who faced his own terminal illness, once said, "Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life." That's not philosophy, it's focus. When you genuinely realize your time is limited, you stop wasting it on trivialities. The undisciplined mind avoids thoughts of mortality because they feel uncomfortable. The disciplined mind embraces them because they make everything else sharper. They ask, if I had 6 months left, how would I live? What would I stop doing? What would I finally begin? Who would I speak to with honesty? What impact would I leave? This isn't obsession with death. It's obsession with living fully. When you know your days are finite, you stop taking them for granted. When you remember that each conversation could be your last, you show up with more presence. When you realize time is borrowed, you stop letting days slip by unnoticed. The Stoics believed that fearing death was really just fearing unlived life. We are not terrified of dying, we're terrified of reaching the end and realizing we never truly lived. That's why death reflection is liberating. It doesn't paralyze you. It pushes you to live deliberately. Seneca practiced this nightly. He would ask himself, how did I use today? Did I honor my values? Did I live with purpose? This wasn't punishment. It was alignment. He understood that his greatest wealth wasn't gold. It was time, and he wanted a return on that investment. How do you practice this? Start your morning by acknowledging, this could be my last day, not to panic, but to focus. End your day by asking, if I died tonight, would I be content with how I lived today? Did I love well? Did I serve something bigger than myself? Did I waste precious hours on nonsense? This ritual transforms your mindset. You argue less because your energy is too valuable. You take bolder steps because time is too short to play small. You become disciplined, not from fear of dying, but from a determination to truly live. Remembering death is not morbid. It's the reminder that life is a one-time gift. It urges you to treat each day as precious, because it is. One day, there will be no next morning. The future self lying on a final bed will either be proud of how you lived or filled with regret. Start making choices now that honor that person. Law 7. Power through imagined loss. Epictetus taught his students a practice that seems harsh at first, but is deeply powerful. He told them, when you kiss your child goodnight, Silently remind yourself they may be gone tomorrow. Not as a curse, but as a way to deepen gratitude. This is the seventh Stoic law of discipline. Envisioning loss builds appreciation and mental resilience. Most people assume imagining terrible outcomes only creates fear or sadness. But the Stoics discovered something profound. When you mentally prepare for misfortune, you don't just steel yourself against loss, you become more thankful for what you already have, and you become more prepared for whatever may come. This exercise was called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortunes. It's one of the most practical mental tools Stoicism offers. Think about how most people worry. They obsess over losing their job, getting sick, or facing heartbreak. But they do this passively. They panic without planning. They dread outcomes without preparing for solutions. This creates nothing but anxiety. The undisciplined mind either avoids imagining the worst or spirals helplessly through it. The disciplined mind uses imagination strategically. They don't just picture what could go wrong, they picture how they will rise in response. Here's how to use it. Once a week, spend 10 focused minutes imagining the loss of something important, your career, your health, your home, even a loved one. Don't stop at imagining the moment of loss. Go further. Picture how you would respond. What steps would you take? What lessons would you learn? What inner strength would you call upon? How would you rebuild? This practice produces two incredible results. First, it makes you instantly grateful. Imagine going blind and suddenly your sight feels like a miracle. Imagine losing your ability to walk and every step becomes sacred. Imagine losing someone you love and you cherish each moment with them more deeply. Second, it makes you mentally tough. If the imagined loss ever becomes real, you're not paralyzed. You've already rehearsed your first moves. You've trained your mind to feel the weight and still remain standing. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, once wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." That's what this exercise gives you. Choice. No matter how dark the world becomes, your internal posture remains yours. The Stoics were not doom-obsessed pessimists. They weren't practicing misery for misery's sake. They were practicing gratitude, perspective, and strength. The Stoics were realists. They knew life would always include suffering. Their wisdom was simple but profound. Don't let suffering surprise you. Most of the pain we feel doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the shock, from our unmet expectations. When you practice visualizing setbacks, you shrink that gap. You reduce the emotional blow. You become flexible. You become the kind of person who bends but does not break. And here's the balance. Negative visualization isn't just about rehearsing loss. It's about rehearsing strength. You don't only picture devastation, you picture endurance. You don't only imagine endings, you imagine the courage to adapt and rebuild. You prepare. You don't panic. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Loss is nothing but change, and change is nature's joy." Everything in life is temporary, our jobs, our relationships, our possessions, even our bodies. Clinging to them leads to suffering. Accepting their impermanence leads to peace. So how do you apply this? Make it a weekly ritual. Choose something meaningful, and picture its absence. Then go further. Visualize how you would rise. Where would your courage come from? What would you create next? What would you hold on to inside yourself? Modern psychology calls this strengthening your psychological immune system, your inner ability to recover from adversity. When your mind has rehearsed challenges, you develop a quiet confidence. You don't just survive shocks, you grow from them. You become, as modern thinkers say, antifragile. Law 8. Become the person your goal demands, Epictetus once said. First, decide who you want to be, then do what you must. This is the 8th Stoic law of discipline. Stop obsessing over outcomes and start becoming the kind of person who naturally achieves them. Most people get disciplined backwards. They fixate on results instead of identity. They want to lose weight, but never become someone who prioritizes health. They want wealth, but never become someone who consistently makes wise financial choices. They want better relationships, but never grow into someone who shows up with honesty and reliability. That's why their efforts fail. They're trying to force new behaviors while clinging to an old identity. Every action you take casts a vote for who you are. When you exercise, you're casting a vote for being a fit person. When you write, you're voting to be a writer. When you meditate, you're voting to be someone who values clarity. The Stoics believed identity is flexible. Discipline isn't something you're born with. Neither is fear, courage, or calm. These qualities are sculpted through consistent practice. Think of the most disciplined person you know. They didn't wake up that way. They became that way by choosing discipline again and again until it became their default setting. The hard path, repeated often enough, became their nature. Here's the revelation. When your identity aligns with your habits, effort becomes easier. Athletes don't struggle to train. Training is just what athletes do. Readers don't battle themselves to open a book. Reading is what readers do. A disciplined person doesn't constantly wrestle with willpower. Discipline is who they are. But shifting identity takes more than wishful thinking. You need what psychologists call identity-based proof evidence that confirms you are the person you claim to be. That evidence comes from action, especially the small, repeated actions no one else sees. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be like the rock that waves crash against. It stands unmoved and the raging sea falls still around it." He didn't become that person by declaring it once. He became it by living it every day. Each morning he set his intentions. Each night he reviewed his choices. So where do you start? With a question. Who do I want to become? Not what do I want to have, but who do I want to be? Someone brave, someone disciplined, someone creative, someone calm. Get specific. Then ask, what would that person do today? If you want health, how would a healthy person eat lunch? If you want success, how would a successful person spend their evening? If you want resilience, how would a tough person respond to stress? Right now, pick one small action that aligns with that identity. Don't try to transform overnight. Maybe it's making your bed. Maybe it's writing one paragraph. Maybe it's walking for 10 minutes. The action matters less than the consistency. Every repetition reinforces the identity. Every follow-through lays another brick in the foundation of your new self. Over time, These small acts create massive change. The Stoics called this ascesis spiritual exercises. Growth, they taught, isn't magic. It's craft. Becoming a better human takes the same repetition as becoming a better athlete or musician. You don't wish yourself into discipline. You train it until it lives in you. And here's the beauty. Identity change doesn't require perfection. It requires direction. Every time you act in line with your desired self, you move closer to embodying it. Every choice your future self would respect pulls you toward that future. You don't become your higher self all at once. You become them one disciplined decision at a time. Law 9. Build the process, not just the prize. Seneca once wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." He understood the 9th Stoic law of discipline. True progress comes not from lofty goals, but from strong systems. Most people are addicted to chasing goals. They dream big, map outcomes, write lists, and weeks later they burn out. Their motivation fades. They feel lost. Why? Because they focused on where they wanted to end up, not on how they would consistently get there. They were obsessed with the finish line while ignoring the race itself. Goals by nature are temporary. You hit one, and then what? You feel empty or anxious about the next one. You miss it and feel defeated. Either way, you remain stuck in a cycle of highs and lows. That's the problem. Chasing goals without building processes is like hiding clutter in a closet. On the surface, things look clean. But open the door and chaos spills out. It might look clean for a moment when you hide clutter in a closet, but the mess isn't solved. The root habits are still there. The Stoics saw through this illusion. They taught that lasting change doesn't come from what you want. It comes from what you repeatedly do. That's where systems come in. A system is a set of consistent actions and routines that naturally lead to better results over time. When you focus on the process, the outcome takes care of itself. Here's the hard truth. You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your habits. If you want to lose weight, stop obsessing over the number on the scale. Instead, build a system of daily movement, home-cooked meals, and steady sleep. If you want to write a book, don't fixate on the final manuscript. Build a writing system. Set aside time every day to draft, time each week to edit, time each month to learn and refine your craft. Great outcomes aren't achievements in isolation. They're byproducts of great systems. The beauty of systems is that they don't depend on motivation. Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes like weather. Systems endure. Motivation is like sunshine. Systems are like shelter. On days when you feel lazy, tired, or uninspired, your system still carries you forward. That's real power. Marcus Aurelius had his system too. Each morning, he wrote his intentions. Each night, he reviewed his choices. It wasn't about reaching a finish line, it was about steady personal growth. The Stoics practiced what modern thinkers now call small, continuous improvement. 1% better each day might not seem like much, but compounded over time, it transforms everything. So how do you build a system that works? Start with your ideal identity, who you want to become. Then ask, what does that person do daily? If your ideal self is strong, maybe they train every day. If wise, they reflect or read. If focused, they cut out distractions. These aren't lofty goals, they're daily behaviors that shape character. And here's the key. Keep your system simple enough that failure is hard. Don't aim for an hour of workouts each day. If you're just beginning, start with 5 push-ups. Don't commit to finishing a book each week. Start with 1 page a day. Don't force 30 minutes of meditation. Start with 3 deep breaths. Simplicity fuels consistency. Seneca didn't just give away massive donations to prove generosity. He practiced small daily acts of kindness. That rhythm, not the size of the gift, made him generous. Audit your own systems. Which routines pull you toward your best self? Which habits quietly pull you away? Design your environment and behaviors so that the disciplined path becomes automatic. Remember, goals define the destination, but systems determine whether you actually arrive. Trust the process, and the results will come naturally. Law 10. Virtue is the real victory. Marcus Aurelius had immense power, wealth, and access to every luxury of his time. Yet he wrote, "Very little is needed for a happy life. It's all within your mindset." This is the 10th and final Stoic law of discipline. The only thing that truly matters is virtue. Everything else is optional. Most people spend their lives chasing external achievements, status, money, admiration, convinced they'll find fulfillment once they arrive. They think happiness lies in the perfect body, the ideal partner, the dream job, or financial security. But the Stoics discovered something deeper. Anything outside of your control cannot grant true peace. What you truly own and what no one can ever take is your character. The Stoics taught there are 4 essential virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These aren't vague ideals. They are daily tools. Wisdom means seeing reality clearly. It's the ability to make decisions based on truth, not fantasy or fear. Wisdom shields you from manipulation, both from others and from your own impulses. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking the right action despite fear. It's stepping forward when it's uncomfortable, risky, or unpopular. Courage is the muscle that pulls you through adversity. Justice is fairness, integrity, and recognizing that your well-being is tied to the well-being of others. A just person is a source of trust and stability in their community. Temperance is self-control. It's enjoying life's pleasures without being ruled by them. It's enduring hardships without collapsing. Temperance creates balance, something most people lose in extremes. Here's the powerful thing about virtue. It cannot be stolen. Someone can empty your bank account, but they can't touch your integrity. They can smear your name, but they can't rewrite your honor. They can injure your body, but they can't break your soul unless you allow it. Epictetus, born into slavery, found complete freedom in one place: virtue. No one can harm you, he said, without your consent. This wasn't physical invincibility, it was moral strength. When your happiness depends only on your values, you are untouchable. The real discipline is making virtue your compass. Ask not, will this make me rich? But, will this make me wiser? Ask not, will this make me popular? But, will this make me more just? Ask not, will this make life easier? But, will this make me stronger? True victory is living with virtue. Because while fortunes fade, titles vanish, and health declines, virtue endures. It is the one victory that no obstacle, no enemy, no twist of fate can ever take from you. Law 10 continued. Virtue is the real victory. Not, will this make me liked? But will this make me more just? Not, is this easy? But is this the courageous path? This doesn't mean rejecting success or pleasure. The Stoics weren't monks hiding in caves. They weren't against wealth, recognition, or achievement. They simply refused to be ruled by them. They called such things preferred indifference, nice to have, but never worth your soul. The Stoics also carried a timeless warning. The best revenge is to not be like your enemy. When others betray virtue, don't let them drag you down. Rise instead. Stay anchored in your principles. Marcus Aurelius, despite betrayal, war, and constant pressure, reminded himself daily, the inconstant est daily. Best way to avenge yourself is to not become like the one who wronged you. That is the ultimate victory. When you prioritize virtue, everything else falls into place. You stop fearing failure because growth itself is success. You stop chasing approval because your worth is rooted in integrity. You stop fearing loss because nothing essential can be taken from you. These laws are not relics of a forgotten philosophy. They are a living roadmap to strength. But remember, knowing is nothing without doing. Epictetus said it clearly. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. These Stoic laws will not change you unless you practice them. They will not give you discipline unless you live them. Choose one law today, the one that resonates most. Maybe it's winning your morning. Maybe it's mastering your emotions. Maybe it's living by virtue. Start there. Practice it for 30 days. Don't try all 10 at once, that's a trap. Depth is better than breadth, and when you stumble, and you will remember, this isn't failure, it's part of the fight. The Stoics never demanded perfection, they expected effort. Discipline isn't about punishing yourself. It's about realigning and returning to the path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That is the Stoic message in full. Your mind, your actions, your character, that is where true power lives. These 10 laws aren't abstract theories. They are practical tools to awaken that power within you. And the world desperately needs more. People who embody them, people steady in chaos, patient in trials, faithful to their values under pressure. By building discipline, you're not only shaping your own life, you're strengthening the world around you. Each time you choose effort over ease, you invest in the future self who can carry more, endure more, and lead more. That future self is waiting. At first, the path feels heavy, but with practice, it lightens. Habits become rhythm, principles become instinct, and slowly the person you've always wanted to be begins to emerge. So if this message sparked something and you hit like, share your biggest lesson in the comments. Pass it on to someone who needs it, and subscribe for more tools to help you become unshakable. Remember this truth. You are more capable than you think. You are stronger than you feel. You are more disciplined than you realize. These Stoic laws prove it. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am disciplined. I am strong. I am becoming who I'm meant to be.